Well, theory will tell you, and that's why the economists are part of this engagement. Theory will indicate to you that taxing productive sector excessively will, of course, hurt our output, and then it makes us uncompetitive. And once that becomes the case, you drive in a lot of importation. So the question is, how do you manage this particular situation? And I love to discuss this in context. I mean, we all know the story, the difficulties over the period and where we are. How do we manage this and give future to our participants and our citizens? It's our really cry and our being. So for the taxation situation, unfortunately, we've pledged all these taxes to the IMF and to the various debt structuring activities that we've engaged in.
Is that to say we're stuck with them?
Well, as you've pledged it, that is the contractual agreement that you've signed with your partners. And you cannot, at this stage, chicken out of that. So how do you go around it? So we were looking out in our research that how do we deploy non-taxable policies to create a conducive market so that the turnover that my colleague mentioned of will be guaranteed for government to rake in its taxes to pay its various bills. Unfortunately, what is happening now, as we are in the position of excessive taxes on production that we're complaining about, and we've done this many times on the VAT and all the various tax handles once upon a time, our take is that how do we deploy non-taxable policies, i.e., you have the Ghana Standards Authority. How do you use standardization, all right, to differentiate with the imports that are coming in to guarantee the market for the beverage industries, for the cable factories, for the oils that are being produced, to maintain their market and still do their volumes? At this stage, we are being hit on both sides, excessive taxes, high imports, and therefore we are losing our market. So what happens to the producers here? They join the bandwagon to start importing products to sell. So what other policies?
And that, of course, impacts local production.
Fantastic. So the GITC, the Ghana International Trade Commission, is one angle. The FDA,
Food and Drugs Authority,
of course. So you could use policies in this space to galvanize and create some form of fair competition for your producers in-house or in-country so that they can still maintain their market share. Currently, we're losing market share. And as you lose market share, there are two issues that happen. Government's revenue will drop. There'll be no jobs created for our citizens, and then the impact is risks to government.
And you've forgotten another end. It could also mean that those from other ends, the foreigners, will take over more sectors of the economy,
Absolutely.
which means
Absolutely.
that the sectors of the economy in our own hands, and that is already a very slippery slope.
And that goes
services. Look at services,
Absolutely.
for example.
I agree with you. And that is why we keep using the word local content. So therefore, the subject matter of using policy regarding local content also guarantees market. So they are not taxable policies, but they are policies that guarantees your market and gives room to the indigents to also put in their best. And we all heard recently about the recent issue about the, the refinery that is coming to town.
Right.
And the haulage industry being taken over. Yeah. When you go on that tangent, you lose the local content aspect. And what happens to your citizens? So these are non-taxable policies that government could also deploy and use agencies to regulate and aid you create the market, maintain the market, so your factories don't lose out. Production of the agriculture space, the value chain don't lose out. So you realize that I'm moving from taxable policies to non-taxable policies in such a situation, in such a time, that we find it difficult because all your taxes have been pledged to the debt situation already.
Just a brief one. You've already mentioned factories, production, and all of that, and your membership in the thick of that.
Yes.
How about utility tariffs?
All right.
What has it done to your business?
Well, the reality is what we got to discuss. In situations like that, there are two key things that go up: utility tariffs and that of taxes. All right? So you realize that the tax situation, we all know the position. And utility tariffs, over the period, power cost has gone up about 72%, and with justifiable reasons and argument from the operators, and also with the IMF believing that there are a lot of leakages, and they tell you that about 32%, both technical and commercial losses, goes out of the ECG, and therefore we are not able to recover. So you realize that there's a need for such adjustment. So yes, they are what it is now. How do you navigate the situation And therefore, that is what our proposition is. Look out for non-taxable items. Utility tariffs and taxes at this stage, unfortunately, is high. So how do you navigate the position? Go for non-taxable issues, and then let's navigate it and create the market. And then gradually, as the macro drops and then export beans and then the deficit position reduces, then virtually we can still go back to government and drive taxes down.
Right.
Nonetheless, there are other essential products that we still believe the tax element should be zero VAT.
Like which ones?
Like the sanitary
Very
part.
quickly.
Sanitary part one that we've mentioned.
That is, you want us to go back to that?
No, I don't want to go back to that, but the issue is that it's a way to still keep production on whilst you still give them zero rated VAT and they can still create jobs.
Zero rated, yeah.
Of course, for sanitary. Production of sanitary parts locally, not imported sanitary parts.
Point made.